Why did they work so hard to change when life begins to God? Why did this world change the dictionary? Okay, and you could say, oh, the science updated. No, they didn't know. Think. Why did they do it? Why did they do it? Think. It's what's man's problem's been since the Tower of Babel, but this is the Tower of Babel on steroids. Because man in a lab or some machine shop can create a human-like being that can do even more than the fetus. Okay, it can walk, it can talk, it can think, it can collate, it can process things faster than humans. It can have conversations with you. It'll look like you. It would fool most of us with how advanced it is. They can even give it a heartbeat. So they can give it everything you and I have, everything human beings have. Man can create in a lab or a machine shop. What is the one thing that man cannot give? No man. The soul. And when does God give the soul to the body? When he blows breath into its nostrils and it becomes a living creature. It serves the transhumanists that want to merge machinery and robots, or flesh and robots together. Because do you think it'll take them very long to go into a courtroom and start claiming that this has human rights? No, we're man. We can create everything that the human can do. They can think, they can interact with you, they can walk, they can talk, they can organize, they have brain function, all of that. And they will say, they deserve human rights. Why are they not human? What can man never, ever give them that only God can? The breath of life. They could make it mimic breathing, but they can't give it the breath of life, the soul. That's the reason they changed it. Because people, don't want to look at the fact that what the original war was against humans. They don't care what color you are. They don't care what religion you are. They don't care if you are a human being, then the war started just because the angels were not happy about some of the angels were not happy about human beings being made. So they've spent all these decades getting everybody to believe that the cells at conception are a life. Of course they would. All of that serves the science. Yes, does God say he's forming it? He says he's forming it. I thought of you. I knew you before I was knitting you in the womb. But what is the one thing that man cannot give this? That a human being has, a soul, you have the breath of God in you. But the only way you're going to be able to give human rights to the human-like robot or the humanoid is by convincing the public that, well, no, life begins at conception, all the cells. And it's all a way to hurt God. And yet a ton of Christians go along with it, not really realizing that what their real goal is to just diminish humans. Because, well, when this can be created in a lab or factory And it can do all the functions of you and I even better in many ways, because it can do things faster. Then what separates us from them? And you could say, well, they weren't in a womb. Okay, but they formed them. Man formed this. So when God says in the womb that he's forming it, he's building it, he's forming it, he knew you before, okay, but he has not given you a soul yet. Because to do it, he blows the breath into your nostrils. Do you not think that the Almighty Creator of this place didn't foresee all of this? And so he wanted you to know that life begins with his breath entering those nostrils, as he says. And why he says over and over again, when I withdraw breath, life is gone. When I instill breath, life begins. He made it very clear, and this world and the science, all to serve a wicked agenda, had to get as many Christians in the country to believe that life begins at conception. Because when you believe that it's in the forming stage of life, well, then man can do that. Man can build the parts. Man can form it. Man can even replicate the heart, as I showed. Can replicate every bit of it. But there's one thing they cannot replicate. That's what's crucial to know. Since they can replicate these, they obviously can replicate fake babies that are robot babies. Do you think Baal or Moloch would accept them? No. Why? Why wouldn't? I mean, this is, I'm not trying to confuse people. I'm just saying, even Baal and Moloch, the false gods, which really, were created by the fallen ones, because it was a great way to hurt God. But why did they not? They didn't want a fetus. They didn't want anything that was still in development. It was no good to them. The baby had to be breathing alive, because the essence of the sacrifice to Baal or Moloch was the act of giving up a living life, not simply disposing of a body that wasn't breathing. And that's in the ancient sources and inscriptions, making it clear that these rituals required a live sacrifice. Offering a child that was not seen as alive or breathing was meaningless. It was akin to a cremation rather than a true sacrifice. The act of sacrificing a living, breathing child was believed to be a costly and powerful offering intended to appease or manipulate the deity for favor or protection. And why was it? Because even the false gods knew that the divine breath is the one most important component that makes you a child of God. They can make you in the image of whatever they want. But the important part about a human being is the breath of life. The breath of life gives the soul to that being. It is what God sees as the life beginning, because breath is essential to life. They changed. They've spent all these decades changing when life begins, not because of any good reasons, except that, well, when science and technology can just create a replica just like you, then how are you any different? Well, you're different because when God gave you the breath of life that they don't have, it's what gave you a soul and made you a living creature.